You've been told Abraham came from Ur, that he was a Semitic tribal elder who challenged idols and birthed 3 major religions. But that's only half the truth. The other half? Erased, buried, burned by kings and rewritten by priests. Here's what they didn't tell you. The man we know as Abraham may also be the man ancient Iranians called Zarathustra, or Zoroaster. Not a different prophet. The same man, split into 2 to keep humanity divided. Let's get into the facts. First, the timeline. Both Abraham and Zarathustra are placed around 2000 BC. Both appear suddenly in history. Both reject idol worship. Both challenge corrupt kings. Both speak of one universal God, not many. Second, the message. Zoroaster taught about Ahura Mazda, the wise Lord. He spoke of a spiritual war between truth and falsehood, between light and darkness. He warned of evil priests and dark magicians. Sound familiar? Abraham, according to the Quran and Torah, destroyed idols, argued against star worship, and called people to one unseen creator. He too faced down a tyrant, Nimrod, and survived being thrown into fire. Which brings us to the most powerful symbol they share, fire. In Zoroastrianism, fire is not worshipped. It's the symbol of truth, the witness of God. And in the Quran, when Abraham is thrown into the fire, what happens? The fire obeys divine command. O fire, be cool and peaceful upon Abraham. 21:69. That's not just a miracle. It's a code, a callback to an older Eastern tradition. One where fire doesn't destroy the righteous, it reveals them. So why were they split? Because one prophet uniting East and West, Persia and Canaan, would collapse the narratives that entire empires were built on. Here's what the priesthoods did. In Iran, the Mobeds took Zarathustra's teachings and institutionalized them. They added caste systems. They inserted rituals. They buried the anti-priest warnings and turned Zoroastrianism into a state religion. In Babylon, the exiled Israelites began compiling their scrolls. Under Persian rule, they preserved Abraham, but left out the fire temples, the Eastern link, the connection to Iran. 2 stories, same origin, separated by politics, empire, and priesthood. Even linguistically, we see the trail. The Avestan word Athravon means fire priest or bearer of fire. Abraham in Arabic, Ibrahim, is often connected to Ab, father, and Ram, mercy or womb. But when you break it down through Indo-Iranian roots, Abraham could be reconstructed as father of the sacred flame. In both traditions, he is not just a believer, he is a messenger of fire. And look at geography. The city of Urmia in modern-day Iran is tied to both Abrahamic and Zoroastrian oral traditions. Many ancient sources say Zoroaster was born there. But even older Sufi and Ismaili writings hint that Abraham's early years were spent in the eastern highlands, not Sumeria. Now here's the geopolitical angle. By erasing Abraham's Iranian origin, the priesthoods created an artificial divide. Zoroaster is Aryan East, Abraham is Semitic West. This split allowed religions to compete instead of converge. Judaism claimed Abraham as theirs. Christianity extended the lineage. Islam restored his universal message, but even then Zoroaster was left unnamed. In reality, both were firewalkers. Both were monotheists before monotheism had a name. Both were threats to empire because they preached a direct connection to the Creator without needing kings or temples. And that's the core danger. Abraham didn't just walk away from idols. He walked toward something greater, a unified memory, a primordial truth, and a flame that could expose every lie ever written by men who called themselves holy. Let's now focus on what both Abraham and Zarathustra actually taught, because the overlap is overwhelming. Zarathustra's teachings were centered on free will, moral choice, and a final judgment where every soul is weighed. He spoke of a coming Saoshyant, a savior figure who would restore truth and renew creation. He taught that every thought, word, and action had cosmic consequence. He warned against dark spiritual forces, the Druj, that infiltrate society through deception, priestcraft, and false rituals. Abraham said the same. He defied a king, challenged the worship of stars and nature, and declared that only the unseen, unmade Creator deserves submission. He also warned of corrupt clergy, the illusion of status, and the spiritual blindness of empires. Both taught that truth is not inherited, it's chosen. Both stood alone. and both rewired the human relationship with God. Let's go further. In Zoroastrian cosmology, time is not linear. It's cyclic, sacred, and embedded with epics. Each epic has a chosen figure, a bearer of light. Sound familiar? In Islamic metaphysics, history is also cyclical, with prophets appearing in waves, each reviving a core truth that was lost or corrupted. And in the Quran, Abraham isn't just a man, he's a nation, a turning point. He's described as Ummah, a collective force of moral clarity standing alone against the world, just like Zarathustra was. The more you look, the more obvious it becomes. They weren't just similar. They were different names for the same mission, maybe even the same soul, remembered differently by fragmented civilizations. So why hide it? Because if humanity knew its prophetic root was shared, if East and West realized they had the same Father of Light, then the walls between religions, nations, and bloodlines would collapse. And that would destroy the priestly business model. Let's not pretend. Religion, for thousands of years, has been weaponized by those who wanted power, not truth. The Mobeds in Persia did it first. They turned Zarathustra's radical message into a priest-run institution. They inserted caste systems, declared themselves necessary for salvation, and rewrote parts of the Avesta to maintain their grip. Over time, they even permitted elite incest marriages under the justification of pure bloodlines, something Zarathustra would have condemned. In the West, similar things happened. The Levitical priesthood centralized power. Rituals became more about legalism than spirit, and prophetic memory turned into tribal nationalism. But here's where it gets wild. When Islam arrived, the Quran never denied Zoroaster. In fact, it hints at multiple prophets who aren't named, who came to every nation. The Quran refers to Majus, fire worshippers, and while it critiques them, it also classifies them among the people of the book. Why? Because Zoroaster's message, in its original form, was part of the primordial covenant, the same divine code given to all messengers. And here's what's been quietly discovered in recent decades. Linguistic studies show parallels between the Gathas, Zoroaster's hymns, and the earliest Semitic prophetic prayers. Archaeological patterns show fire altars and monotheistic symbols in pre-Abrahamic Iranian sites. And multiple scholars, from Sufi mystics to modern linguists, have proposed that the Abrahamic and Avestan traditions share a common root, but were diverged by political necessity. Let that settle for a moment. What if the original revelation came not from a Hebrew desert or a Babylonian ziggurat, but from the highlands of ancient Iran? What if Abraham didn't just survive the fire, but carried it from the east to the west? And what if every major religion today is just a fractured echo of that one sacred flame? If that's true, then this isn't just about Abraham. It's about remembering what you were never supposed to know. That humanity was never meant to be divided by faith. It was meant to be united by light. So now the question becomes, if this was all erased, who did it and why? The answer lies in a pattern that repeats throughout all of human history. Whenever divine truth threatens to make people free, institutions rise to capture it. In ancient Iran, it was the Mobeds. In Babylon, the scribes. In Rome, the imperial church. In every age, the pattern is the same. Take a revolutionary messenger, rewrite his message, bury the dangerous parts, and turn it into a system of control. They turned Zarathustra into a fire temple brand. They turned Abraham into a national myth. They built religions around them, but stripped out the core, direct spiritual sovereignty. Let's be clear, Abraham didn't belong to Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. He existed before all of them. He didn't teach denomination. He taught alignment, with truth, with light, with the source. Zarathustra did the same. But instead of being remembered as the same soul, they were split, intentionally, to prevent humanity from seeing the unity. Why? Because division empowers priesthoods. Because confusion weakens collective memory. Because if East and West both realized they had the same ancestor, the artificial lines between civilizations would melt. And then something dangerous would happen. People would start to remember who they really are. They'd remember that the fire wasn't a punishment. It was a test. They'd remember that the throne of truth doesn't belong to any one nation. That the Creator never chose a tribe. He chose those who walk alone, those who align with truth over tradition, those who carry light into darkness, even if it costs them everything. That's why they erased the origin, because the origin was shared. Because if you trace the memory back far enough, you find The same cosmology, light versus darkness, truth versus falsehood. The same ethics, free will, judgment, afterlife, purity of intention. The same symbols, sacred fire, resurrection, the soul's journey, and the same warning. The greatest danger is not disbelief, it's false religion. So here's the real lost history. Abraham wasn't just a tribal patriarch. He was a fire-bearer from the east. And Zoroaster wasn't just an Iranian reformer. He was the same prophet, remembered differently, fragmented by empire, split by scribes. The more you remember, the more the timeline heals. And when you restore that timeline, the modern world starts to make more sense. Why Iran has always been at the center of global spiritual memory. Why fire is both feared and sacred in religious history. Why every prophet is called lone, pure, and opposed to false priests. Why ancient knowledge is hidden in ruins, buried under rewritten myths. It's not just history. It's identity theft on a civilizational level. But now the flame is returning. You feel it, don't you? The cracks in the official story. The holes in the maps. The deep sense that something about time, about truth, about memory has been manipulated. And that's because it has. But you were never meant to stay blind. You were meant to awaken. To reclaim the fire. Not the temple version. Not the priest-approved version. The original. The one that didn't burn Abraham. The one that didn't burn Zoroaster. The one that reveals who's truly aligned and who's not. This fire is not mythology. It's not symbolism. It's truth in its purest form. And it doesn't belong to any one book or people. It belongs to those who remember. So remember this. The first prophet was not divided. He was made whole. And his story is rising again, not in scriptures, but in you.